Welcome to Flames Unfiltered, live on a free agency. It's a Tuesday, July 1st. Happy Canada Day. And we're talking free agency.
Yeah, kind of snuck up on us, right?
It did. Well, I wish they would separate the draft. Just like maybe give us 2 weeks, right? Just give us 2
let us digest what already happened.
I feel like, not that I don't love talking to you every day, Kyle, but I feel like we just did this. Like we did 48 hours ago, and it was fun talking draft. But now we've switched gears and it's free agency. And yes, in Calgary, it's quiet, and we expected that. And I'm not frustrated. I think some of the fan base is, but I'm not frustrated. I think it's what we expected, right?
Yeah, I think there hasn't been a whole lot happen yet. We may as well dive right in because things could happen while we're doing this too. Keeping Joel Hanley, I don't think anybody's upset by that, other than some seem to think it might, prevent somebody else from taking a spot. But at that salary, at that term, he can move anywhere. I'm concerned they're going to press him in a top pairing minutes again, which I don't think he's best suited for. But I'm glad he's sticking around just the same.
And that deal is just minimal. It's a 1.75, 2 years. We both, I think you'd agree with me. We both thought he would get more than that out on the market. And we both thought somebody would take a big hit, like a Gabranson thing, and not maybe that high, but right? Is that not what we thought maybe we could see? A guy who had a really good year last year that we both fear was a one-off, but we might be wrong on that. And the way I look at it is, hey, this gives us some depth. He's a guy that he proved last year could come out of the lineup, step back in like Michael Stone used to do all the time and not miss a beat. I think this is a tidy piece of work at 1.75, and I think it's good.
Yeah, I think so too. But again, it depends on how he's used. I'm a little concerned because, again, he played a lot with Weegar, and that is a spot, better reserved for somebody else, but we don't necessarily know who that would be yet, although there's still rumors of other things that are happening. So we can go in two directions with where to go next on this, because I got a couple different segues here. So talking about players that I know I felt might get more money than maybe they're realistically worth. One of them who got that money today from Philly was Dan Vladar. So we're now on the market for a backup goaltender. What are your thoughts on that one?
I think me and you both were going to be fine if Dan Vladar re-signed in Calgary. I know I was, but I was thinking like 2 years, 2.5. And he went elsewhere, and good for him. You know what? He's going to get more playing time in Philly, or he went 2 years, 3.35. Real good for Dan Vladar. When it happened and I read it, I was like, okay, I kind of expected it that he would go somewhere else, but I was like, I also said today that just with the goalie market the way it was, I thought I wouldn't have been surprised if things would have circled back where he would have landed in Calgary. And I know Calgary had an offer on the board. I would love to know what that was. But you know what? I think these things work themselves out, but it does leave us needing a goalie, Kyle.
Well, and allegedly, apparently this has been going on for a few weeks, but Ivan Prosvetov, who'd played in Arizona and Colorado previously and had a great year in Russia last year, apparently is going to sign, but you never know. Again, I guess a lot of teams have been looking at him, but at this point, hopefully he does, because Alex Lyon is off the market, David Rittich off the market, Dan Vladar is off the market, Anton Forsberg's off the market. A lot of goalies signed today. I think maybe more than people realize. As they list those names, I'm like, oh yeah, that guy. Like quite a few are gone.
I was surprised. Hey, and you know what? We didn't get stuck with Matt Murray. Seattle did. So hey, there's good news there.
Ugh. Do you ever feel like a guy like that, just because he had so much success before, might just figure it out again and have a little bit of a revival?
Well, you know what? So be it. I don't want to test that in Calgary. And you mentioned David Rittich this morning to me on the phone, and I was like, no. As much as I thought David Rittich was a fun guy and a great guy, but like that experiment is far gone for me. And I don't know. We'll see if this Russian kid gets signed, and he's got 24 games of NHL experience, and we'll see. But at best, this is a push for Devin Cooley, who really a lot of us penciled in last year early in the year and said, hey, this will be a progression into a Wolf Cooley tandem next year. And then we a little bit gotten shy on that later in the year with the injury to Cooley and the return from the injury. We'll see where that goes.
And Vladar's fantastic play too. So it was it was kind of sad to see him go. But there's just something to be said for like being excited, like when your favorite team, signs anybody. So this is the other one that's being reported right now. And I'm going to try to stay on top of these things as we do this, because we are live and there's still stuff happening. But Nick Cisick, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. A lot of questions on X about who he is, but apparently is signing with the Flames. From what I can tell, he was the best defenseman on Adler Mannheim in Germany last year. So, and before everybody starts freaking out and thinks, "Oh, who is this guy? Why did they sign him?" My guess, and it's a fairly educated one, is that he's destined to play for the Wranglers. We're looking for some more veteran leadership down there, and he's 25 years old, so I don't think
have a lot of defense down there though too, right? I mean,
yeah.
How many of those young players will make the jump? I mean, I think there's talk and a lot of thought in Calgary that will Pareko make the jump this year, and I don't know. I don't have some questions that maybe Prosvetov doesn't make the jump at some point this year too. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But you know what? I think we've learned in the past that, like, especially like with this Hanley thing, or we talked about the Dryden Hunt thing just days ago. Those are guys that, like, those are no pain signings. Like, if worst case, you put them on waivers, right? And I hate to sound coarse by saying that, but like that is the truth, right? If a young player steps in, and I saw a lot of talk amongst Flames fans on X today saying there's no room on this roster. There's no room on this roster. Yes, there is plenty of room on this roster. That means you need to beat out somebody. If we leave spaces open for young players, we're asking for trouble.
Yeah, well, that was Conroy's message maybe half an hour ago. Was come take a spot, come take a job. And when you look at the depth chart, it's a bit of a tall order because, like, at forward especially, like, we're going to have to move somebody if we want to bring anybody in. It's pretty, like, so Huberdeau, Kadri, possible Zolzari, Coleman, Backlund, Coronado. That's 7 forwards right there. Sharangovich, Frost, Farabee, Lomberg, Kirkland, and Klapka. So, same thing kind of on D. Bowen, Andersson for now, of course. Hanley, Weegar, Bean, Pahal, and Mirmanov are all signed as well. So,
but when you look at that, and I agree with what you're saying, Kyle, but when you look at that, don't you want that going in? Because if a young player steps in, number one, I always feel like the best in the opportunity for that is an injury, or if a guy just steals a spot out of camp, right? And if they do that, would you have a problem putting a lower tier guy on waivers or moving a guy for a 3rd round pick or a second? Who knows? There's a lot of options that come in there, right? And I think it's a good problem to have, where we're fighting for a spot rather than going, oh man, who's we going to have fill in the 3rd line right wing this year? At least we know now this year what we got with Coronado. We feel pretty comfortable with Zari. Those are questions that we did not have answered last year. So I feel a little better going in. Although,
we got pieces too. Like, we got lots of pieces. So all this talk today, and I've been watching it very closely about Bowen, Byrum potentially, which would be a huge addition for the Flames. I mean, we have that glut of forwards to draw from, prospects, draft picks. I mean, we're pretty well, in a position to do whatever the team feels they need to do, unlike a lot of teams who have no cap space, who have, a lot of players and positions that are already kind of tied up. So there's a lot of work that's left to be done here. I mean, apart from the housekeeping stuff like getting Zari signed, possible Wolf extension. But I can't see that this is the team Calgary's going to enter the season with, especially where they got so close to the playoffs last year. And I'm not saying it's the right approach, but the belief is they got so close, they want to rebuild and try to make the playoffs, which is people have said, kind of a oxymoron. But I don't think this is the team that's going to be, stepping on the ice in October.
So you feel like there's going to be a lot of moves?
I don't know if it's going to be a lot of moves, but there's some tweaking here to be done. And I think
I agree.
There's too many pieces in, on the Flames right now. There's just some guys have got to be moved out to make it possible for younger players to potentially make the team. Because as it stands right now, these guys have too much NHL experience. And I really don't believe, unless maybe Sam Honzik blows the doors off from training camp, I don't see a guy making the team out of camp and taking a job from any of the names that I just mentioned.
I think that's a fair argument. I think it would be a risky move, though, to trade them away. But it depends on what assets you're getting back. See, one thing that, when Darren Dreger reported this Bowen Byrum thing, I really didn't know what to think. They mentioned other teams like St. Louis, LA, I think, and Vegas. I think Vegas would almost logically and financially have to be out of that. I think LA would pretty much their defense, of course, seems full. They seem like they've been super active.
They have, they really have. But for the strangest reasons, why you'd give up on a guy like Jordan Spence and sign a guy like Cody Ceci for more money? I'm
with you. I'm with you.
I do that, man. There's a lot of things that I don't understand. That's damn near the top of the list for me.
I'm very interested though to see if anything comes of this Byrum thing. I know there's concussion talks, people worried with that. I've also come to the conclusion that no matter what trade ever happens, everybody's not going to be happy, right? So I don't know. I guess I've been asked twice already today, what would you want Bowen Byrum? And I'd be like, yeah, but I need to know what we're giving up, right? I mean, that's where I think it comes down, and there's obviously validity to this because there's more than just Darren Drager reporting it too. So we'll see how that plays out as this day goes on, and probably into the week. I feel like that's something that's not going to happen in a couple hours.
Well, that's just it. So the Bowen Byrum really fits a lot of Calgary's current need to round out the defense as it currently stands. So, but I think from what I saw from Drager, it was like a 3-horse race. So I don't know. We'll see how that plays out.
But if Byron stepped in, and we're going to talk about Andersson here in a minute, but we can all kind of pencil him out. Byrum steps in. That's nice. You move up. You still have room for other young players to move into that.
Absolutely.
And you sit, and I love the way our defense is kind of molding in. And I started to think, well, to get a Byrum, you're going to have to give up somebody. And I thought, well, maybe there's a place for Joel Farabee to go.
Yeah.
There's, and I'm not trying to just pick names. I mean, I'm just trying to pick of, like what would it take to do this, right? And what spots would opening it up maybe not hurt us too bad either, right? So it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out.
Yeah, it's going to be this. Free agency always is kind of typically kind of crazy. The first gen it kind of peters off, and it was said earlier today, like Nick Ehlers, for example, is probably not signing anywhere today. But there's been a few trades. There's been a fair amount of activity. So I don't know what like the next phase is going to look like, but I think that's where the Flames might get more involved. I suspect they're going to announce their goaltender signing in the next couple hours. But anything beyond that, and in particular for us, Rasmus Andersson situation, I don't see it being resolved anytime soon. So where do we begin with that?
Okay, you want my take, or you want to do your take first? Because I do have some thoughts on this, and
hey, go right ahead.
I'm a little frustrated now. I want to be clear on where I'm directing my frustration, though. I don't know that I'm directing it necessarily at Rasmus Andersson. I'm frustrated with the situation, and I'm really frustrated where the situation has gone in the last couple days.
Yeah.
Well said. We really, as a fan base, and I'm assuming as an organization, and quite honestly, probably as a player in Andersson, did not want to go down the Hanifin road, right? And I feel
preferably not, but here we are.
I feel like this is mirroring it very clearly. And it's been reported that he's nixed trades with LA, the Ottawa, and Columbus. Maybe I've heard some. I don't know the validity on that one, but
LA was the big one. I mean, I'd heard the ones you just mentioned as well. But LA was the one where it's like, I guess they backed up the Brinks truck, and it was like, holy shit, we need to take this, and then didn't, right? Or couldn't, as it were,
or couldn't take it because Rasmus. But here's what I'm confused on. I researched his contract, and it says in years 5 and 6, which we're in, he has a 6-team no trade clause.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if LA was on that 6-team no trade clause. Now they could be.
Well, I don't think they are, but here's the thing, is that the Flames can trade him technically, but the trade won't be consummated if LA says, hey, he won't sign an extension with us, so we're not going to finish the deal. It almost has to be a sign and trade by the sounds of it.
So what happened to the trades? It happened. I mean, I don't understand. Like, why do we even talk to Rasmus Andersson? If we have his list of teams he won't go to, let's talk to all the other teams and
yeah.
Like, why do I don't like, and I'm a Rasmus Andersson fan, but I don't care if Rasmus Andersson doesn't want to go to LA.
Yeah.
Like, if it's not on your list, and which I don't know if it is or isn't. If it isn't, then, or if it is on the list, then you wouldn't even talk to LA, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't consummate a deal with LA if that's on the list. But why are you even talking to Rasmus Andersson? You should make a phone call to him and be like, hey, thanks for your services. We've decided based on the fact that we haven't come to an agreement on a contract to move you to the Los Angeles Kings. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Well, but here's the thing. I think the temperature changed a bit because initially, things went into the offseason with pretty amicably between the team and the player, apparently. And now there's rumblings that it's kind of come apart a bit because I think what had happened was Conroy would call Andersson or his agent and say, we have this deal in place. They're looking to sign an extension with you. Well, we're not willing to do that. It's like, well, shit. So now the trade's off, right?
Well, why would I know what you're saying, and I know, and maybe I'm thinking illogically on this. I very well could be, but we only started hearing about this in the last few years, where it was like, well, that nixes a trade because he's not going to sign. He can't even talk contract with them, anyways.
Remember, like when the Lindros thing happened with Quebec, and everybody hated him for it, and understandably so, especially in that time period. But now it's like everybody does it. There's so many things that allow, and this is where, if I can jump in here and give my thoughts, which very much mirror your own. Rasmus Andersson isn't doing anything that he isn't allowed to do based on the contract he signed and the agreements he has. I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
I don't think, maybe it's because he's frustrated with the season he had and the way the fans treated him. And there are some fans on X, which I got to say, like, man, like, leave the guy alone. Like, there's just some commentary out there. It's like, it is what it is. He can see the fact that, they're not going to pay him the money that he wants or the term that he wants. And there's a glut of stellar prospects banging on the door, right? So it's time to move on for all kinds of reasons. But he still holds the cards that he holds, and he can play them however he chooses. So the concern now, and you saw a lot of it today, is that this is, as you said, going to become Noah Hanifin 2.0. It's going to drag out all season. We have a player who clearly is not going to be here beyond this season. And unlike Matthew Tkachuk, who kind of helped us segue into, I'm going to go and I'm going to get you some stuff on my way out the door, now we have a player, it's like, well, we're trying to move on. And if we don't do it in this particular... So the best chance was, well, the previous trade deadline. Then it was the draft when everybody's chatting, even though they weren't all in the same room like they typically are. And now we're into free agency, and a lot of teams have already committed dollars, terms, or even traded for guys as other options, right?
Yeah. It's...
So the only thing... Yeah, so the only thing we can hope for at this point is, because the dust has started to settle on the available free agents and trade targets outside of Andersson, is that it will create a new market for him as teams circle back, as Andersson maybe starts to think, oh, maybe I will sign long-term there, because this talk that he wanted to go to Vegas, or only Vegas, the league's got to do something about it. And again, nobody is committing any fraud or act.
His decision. He can't. Well, he can say he's only going to go to Vegas, but he has no idea what Vegas would offer him.
But he knows he's going to make a lot of money because state tax situation, right?
So, well, I don't care though. But if Vegas doesn't have the money to sign him, though,
well, but they might be able to find it. Look what they did with Alex Pietrangelo. It's crazy. This is what I'm curious about. I don't know how, and we're both kind of rambling here. I don't know how the league is going to police this whole thing about cap circumvention, because it's a major issue, and the Knights are the biggest, I'll say, offender, for lack of a better word, even though they haven't done anything wrong technically. It's incumbent upon the Knights to find cap space for Andersson if they want him, and God knows they could, but at the same time, it's been beaten to death, especially today. The Knights don't have the assets to acquire a player of Andersson's value.
No, there's no package they could send us that we would take.
I don't know what the hell it would be. And the only way it would work for me is, at this point, is if you package Andersson with some, one or two of the Flames forwards to get some forward help from right off of the Knights roster. There's no prospects and draft picks to be had with the Knights that are worth talking about.
So how do you solve this problem? If you're Craig Conroy, for a lesson, I mean, we should have learned this lesson before, but I mean, I don't know why, the second I handed him the contract and he said, no, I'm not going to do that, I would have said, okay, let me relook at that. And I would have just traded him.
I think the best thing you can do, and this mirrors all kinds of things in life at this point, and it sucks because it's also the most dangerous thing to do, is you throw your hands in the air. So you know what? For now, fuck it. Like, this is what it is. We got to let things calm down on the market. We got to take a step back and reevaluate. But the danger in that is that you drag it out. And when you drag it out the way, and I said this before, that Joe Sakic did with Matt Duchene a few years ago, paid off beautifully. In this case, we could wind up with another trade like the Hanifin one where the return is really not good or doesn't look to be to this point. And, leaves the team getting a quarter of what they should have got for an asset that everybody seemingly wanted at one point. So
this should have been done last trade deadline.
It should have been, but again, ownership pressure, even a bit of fan pressure, I would say. The team's fighting for the playoffs, even though he had a terrible year, one of your best defensemen. It's like, it's hard to blame them for that because when you're in it, it's so different, right? It's like anything else. It's like you're right there.
I wouldn't have wanted to do it at the time.
Oh, man, we loved it.
I'm the first to admit that. I'm not. I mean, I know this is a difficult situation, but I feel like, and maybe I'm just like got blinders on and I'm not looking at the whole perspective. Like, why does this feel like it just keeps happening to the Calgary Flames?
Well, because in part it does.
Well, I know, but like you'd think it would be happening to other teams too. And I don't know. My frustration level's really, really high with this Andersson thing. Cause you know what? I thought that this was maybe, along with some manipulating and some maneuvering along outside of this, a way to get a center that we need so badly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't know. I don't see. There's a couple things out there that make me curious, though, that I'll throw out there just for thought because I haven't seen them elsewhere yet, anyway. But on the center front, like Joe Veleno just got bought out, and he's a pretty capable center. And I think he's right shot, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe the Flames sign a guy like him, right?
Well, whose spot does he take, though? Yes, we need centers, but like I'm like thinking for the future. Like right now, we have Kadri, Backlund. I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, any of this stuff is going to involve, moving some pieces out in one form or another. It's a really, really, it's an interesting situation, but it's it's an awkward one too, because it's like here we are sitting in this asset again that we know is going to be gone.
Yeah.
And how do we turn that into something that we need when he is very much restricting what the Flames can do with him? So that's why my attitude at this point, unless somebody calls you and says, and it's a team Rasmus wants to play for, we're going to give you this, this, and this. And it's like, holy shit, okay, now we're talking, right? And maybe some GM can talk to Andersson, which from what I understand, Conroy hasn't given other team permission to talk to him yet. They may say, come in here for a year. Let's try it out. And if you're not happy, we'll move you at the deadline because somebody's going to want him anyway, right?
The problem is, though, the second Andersson goes public and says he only wants to go to Vegas, cash it in. And I've seen people try to defend Andersson on X, and I know what I can think about this logically and say, yes, I know he has the right to say whatever he wants. He owes his team nothing. He's done what he's been paid for in Calgary. Yep. I get that. I get all of that. And so like, I'm trying not to bash on Rasmus Andersson, but but if he says I'm only going to Vegas, well, then what?
Well, that speaks to a larger problem Leafs gonna have to find a way to address.
And I don't know. I mean, I didn't actually hear him say that, but that's what's being reported. So I mean, I'm just going off of what's would be considered credible resources, right? And I don't know. I'm frustrated with it, and I don't know. But I'm also glad though that the Flames didn't go bonkers today and spend a bunch of money. I did see.
Oh man.
I got a stat here for you that's interesting. On Sportsnet Stats, it says the UFA signings last year. These are the top 6 spending teams last year on July 1. Predators 122 million, Kraken 94 million, Bruins 87 million, Blackhawks 60 million, Devils 53 million, Canucks 51 million. 5 of those teams missed the playoffs last year.
That's wild.
Is that not
that is wild? Yep. Well, and this is why these CBA amendments that some of the provisions in there, like contract length, are designed to try and prevent owners and GMs from doing damage to themselves and their own teams, right? And I mean, the Flames, and Flames Nation did a great job covering this, like talking about past free agent signings, some of the huge mistakes Calgary made. Woo! James Neal and Troy Brouwer, take a bow.
Yeah.
Man, those are bad. Now,
every team I think does have those in free agency, and that's what we always say.
Yeah, it's the nature of free agency.
We get so excited for this day to watch this and to see what happens with our team. But maybe we should count our blessings when mistakes aren't made, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So back onto some of Conroy's comments, just because I got them in front of me here now. So Conroy said Dan Vladar loved and wanted to stay in the city, but was chasing a starting role and thought Philly was the best opportunity. He's probably right. Vladar probably
yeah.
Yeah, I good for Dan Vladar for getting paid and for taking that chance. The other thing Conroy mentioned, he's going to talk to Wolf's agent soon and try to get him locked as soon as possible. But there's not a crazy rush at the moment to do so. But I think by the end of the summer that'll be a done deal.
I'm more interested probably to see. I know like qualifying offers were issued to Frost, Kearns, Kuznetsov, Morton, Peoria, Jeremy Peoria. Why do I always struggle with that name all the time? Connor Zary. Those are the guys that get qualifying offers. But I'm really interested to see where this Frost and Zary things go, just because of the confusion on really what they're worth. I went back and forth on that one in my head a million times over. But yeah.
It's interesting, eh?
I got a question for you. I think I know what your answer is going to be. You know where I'm going? You know where I'm going with this?
No, because I'm not thinking about it while you're talking, because I want to give you as surprised and honest an answer as I can give.
Jacob Pelche hit the free agent market today, when he was not qualified by the Philadelphia Flyers. Kyle, are you wanting to re-sign Jacob Pelche?
100%. I give you two reasons why, and one of them is one that I've always shit on in the past. So anybody who's heard me say this before, forgive me, because I'm going to be a total hypocrite here. Good in the room.
He might not be in the room. He's not making that roster.
Oh, but he could. I mean, if they move somebody else out, mind you, but he'd be more of an impact player than Ryan Lomberg. I like Lomberg, but he shouldn't be playing 82 or 84 games, whatever the hell it is now. I said this before about Pelche. He's extremely well liked, and when he's on the ice, the puck is going in the right direction. And if that's what the Wranglers, so be it. But I didn't see it, but I can't help but think somebody had to ask Conroy in his presser about what about Jacob Pelche? Any interest there?
I didn't see it. Did you?
I didn't see it either. But like, there is no reason to not do it, other than people say, "Oh, it didn't work out before." It's like, man, he barely played. Like, get over yourself. He was hurt a bunch. Like, piss off. He could be a huge ad for the Wranglers.
For the Wranglers.
And maybe for the fourth or third line in Calgary if they traded a Blake Coleman or started playing Lomberg less. Or I don't know. He's such a versatile piece. Again, I have yet to see a good reason why they shouldn't do it. It's not like he's going to be expensive, right?
I don't know that you're going to ever think there's a good reason. Hey, I'm drawing a blank here. Who is the other golden child in Calgary? The little guy that we lost to Washington, I believe.
Oh, Matthew Phillips.
There you go.
Yeah.
This fan base loves Pelche and Phillips more than
we love the peas, man. It's all about the peas.
I don't know, and I wouldn't be upset, I guess, if we did sign him to a two-way deal. I wouldn't be upset at all. I really wouldn't, because I do think that he definitely has some assets, and I wonder if they won't come out more with more experience, right? My only reservation would be that finally we've got some prospects in our pool that I do think have much higher upside than Pelche. And I surely don't want him holding a spot out of sentimental reasons in front of them. Does that make sense?
No, exactly. And that's an important point, because I mean, for me, he was captain of the Moncton Wildcats, like there is a sentimental attachment there for me. But again, because of the nature of the asset and the fact that it wouldn't do any harm in any. It's not like you're signing like a 35-year-old David Backus type. You know what I mean? Like it's.
No, and that's mostly why I'm giving you a hard time, Kyle, because there really isn't. I don't have an argument that says, hey, like this is.
And I'm happy to entertain one if I was to see it, but to this point I haven't. So in your estimation thus far, just generally speaking, we don't know a lot yet, but who's your biggest winners of the free? And let's open up a little bit. The free agency period, which also includes whatever trades it may have done.
I'm going to say, while we're recording this right now, Granlund just did sign in Anaheim 3 years, $7 million per.
Yeah, that's a strange landing spot for him, I think. But
and also a strange term.
Yeah,
he is 33, but you'd think he'd want to wrap up his career. I guess, I don't know. That's interesting. It it's kind of like getting asked the question, who won draft day? Which when I see people put grades on drafts, I'm like, oh my God, stop now, please. Stop thinking.
Yeah. Well, they're not thinking in a lot of cases, right?
Right? Just stop, please. But putting it on free agency is almost as difficult. I thought, as much as I'm a little confused on the direction of LA,
I'm baffled. I shouldn't say I'm baffled because
who I would say? I'd say Montreal. I kind of like what they've done.
I love what they've done. That trade for Bolduc was brilliant.
I have absolutely no idea what Detroit's doing.
Well, now that it's Detroit.
Do you know what Steve Yzerman's plan is?
The Yzer plan? No, I don't.
I don't understand.
I'm waiting for the draft to show up in my mailbox, but it's a couple of years past due. And again, I've said this before. That's another example, in my mind at least, of a unbelievable hockey player who maybe not be the best executive, but the jury's still kind of out. But
I want to get your take on Utah. Like, they're making a lot of moves, right? But I just don't know. I mean, I don't know that signing Nate Schmidt to $10.5 million. I mean, didn't he get run out of Vancouver and Minnesota? And
he played in Winnipeg, won a cup of Florida most recently. I mean,
Colorado.
when he saw the figure they were offering him, I can't imagine how quickly he converted to being a Mormon. But
it's like, somebody get me a pen.
Yeah, right here. Let me just I mean, for them, where it's a new market in the league, I mean, I think they're trying to do everything they can to be competitive. They want that cup experience everybody talks about. So, I don't know how well it's going to work out for them this early on in their existence, but we'll see. I mean, I shouldn't say early in existence because I mean they were a pre-existing franchise, but I mean they weren't much of a pre-existing franchise, right?
Yeah, I don't hate what Philly's done.
No, I think Philly's, they're doing the things they should do, and I guess that's how you judge this too. It's like based on what their needs are and where they're at, does it make sense? Anaheim, I don't really get like the Granlund thing. Ottawa, I think, has done a fantastic job.
Yeah. Yeah,
like a fantastic job. So they signed Lars Eller today, which is a good veteran center for them to pick up. Re-signed Claude Giroux, and then as I went on and on about the other day, getting Jordan Spence from another former Wildcat from the LA Kings was a really good get for them. So, which will be a nice compliment for the other defensemen, Shabbat, Sanderson. So Ottawa, it's funny to say, but I mean Ottawa and Montreal to this point are two of the bigger ones. Another team that I don't know what they're doing. So if we're talking more about like maybe the losing side. At least in terms of perception, is the Boston Bruins. I don't understand why everybody's obsessed with Tanner Jeannot. I don't get it.
Oh, I don't. The term on that, holy crap!
It's not. Yeah.
How about who did Edmonton sign to like?
Perry. So, yeah, that Frederick deal makes no sense. That is crazy term.
How many years was that? I'm trying to pull it up here. That was ridiculous. Oh, here it is. 8 years for Trent Frederick. 8 years? I know it's only 3.85, but holy cow.
I don't get it. I don't understand why you would commit that much to a player who plays the role that Frederick does. It's totally.
Trent Frederick would have signed it 4 years.
He would, 100%. That one makes no sense to me. So they did that. Perry's gone. They traded Arvidsson.
Perry to LA. That's interesting.
Yeah. Connor Brown went to New Jersey. Apparently he was highly sought after, which I also don't understand. I mean, Brown's quick, but his offense, died 6 years ago.
Evan Bouchard gets $10.5 million per year. Puts up the number.
Yeah, then people are, especially Flames fans, posting the worst of Evan Bouchard on X.
Oh,
just getting walked by Nathan McKinnon. It's just, oh man, it was funny.
We probably need to touch base on the Mitch Marner. That's 8 years, $12 million per year.
And they're already like the jerseys at the number 93 that he's going to wear in Vegas. Vegas is already selling the jerseys.
Really?
Isn't that wild? So this is a great time because I think this is the highest viewership we've had to this point in this particular episode. So this is a really fun time to talk about this. Did you read Marner's statement about leaving the Leafs?
No, I heard part of it today. They read it on I don't know if it was on TSN or Sportsnet. One of the guys read it.
I don't want to be that guy who jumps all over like so many others have, but I don't really know, and I don't have enough empirical evidence that suggests to me that Mitch Marner actually gave his all to Toronto, like in the playoffs, especially. And I know that's always been a big criticism. You get on the stat list of goals in Game 6 and 7 of the playoffs, he's nowhere to be found. Like, he represented a culture to me of maybe it's entitlement. And I'm not going to suggest that all this is cold hard facts. I don't know, but like when I think about what Toronto has to do, this core four thing is complete BS. And I had to laugh because somebody said about the Oilers, well, they have the new core four, and it was like McDavid, Draisaitl, and they mentioned Darnell Nurse's name in that. I'm like, no, that's the worst contract in hockey. You can't. No, it's not happening. But the Marner thing, like I really feel that Toronto's attempts to be a better team and potentially win another round is the only path for them is to break that core down. And Marner leaving, and thank God they got a good player for him and Nick Roy for their sake.
Yeah,
one of them had to go. It's not working. It's failing routinely. And then to watch Marner's behavior in that Game 7 was atrocious. I thought he was being a poor teammate. Blaming his teammates, and I'm sure himself too, but he wasn't contributing anything in that Game 7. He was awful.
Yeah.
So
he's an interesting
player. What are your thoughts on it?
Tons and tons of talent. I was wondering, and it's not just with Mitch Marner, but when anybody like Jack Eichel or the list goes on and on when they go to Vegas, right? I always wonder, like, where does this go? How does he fit in? Like you do. You just they're such a bold team, and they're also and you know what? I'm going to be honest today. When this whole Andersson thing happened and I got frustrated, I'm like, this would never happen in Vegas.
Yep. Yeah,
because I always feel like Vegas has just this, I don't know if asshole mentality that's just like, you know what? We're worrying about our team. And we're not going to let one guy's actions take this team. We'll just ship them out. Like we'll figure it out. Right. And I respect this team for their balls. Is that fair to say? But I don't know how Mitch Marner's
I think so.
Gonna blend. Right. Because you can take, man, you know what? In defensive Vegas too, Jack Eichel didn't blend real well right away either, right? So we'll see what this does. I mean, Marner's got so much offensive talent. But I also will say that I am super happy he didn't land in Calgary.
Would have been a huge mistake. And it's funny, as I'm looking at X, Pete Blackburn had just tweeted the pictures of the Marner jerseys are done in Vegas, not helping the tampering accusations.
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
Oh, man.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know
so,
what the league do. They're going to
I don't know. But, I mean, ultimately, if we're talking about the competitive nature of hockey and everybody's saying, oh, Florida got it done, they're going to run it back. And let's just take a minute just to touch on, it is impressive that the Panthers re-signed those four players, Ekblad, Marchand. Help me out here. I'm drawing a blank.
Ekblad, Marchand, Bennett. And
of course. I'm trying to repress all my Sam Bennett memories. Anyway, whatever the case, like I don't remember. It doesn't matter. The issue, like Brad Marchand is not playing pro hockey till he's 43. It's not. No. He's not. There's no. I would gladly eat those words. I mean, he'd be the oldest player since Yager. Like, I don't understand how. Like, I'm not even sure how that contract got through the league offices, because it's like that's clearly not going to happen. But anyway, all that to say, though, the Panthers are likely going to be in the conversation for the Stanley Cup again next year. Now there's probably going to be some fatigue and maybe some injuries, and other teams are on the rise. But that all makes sense. I don't see how Mitch Marner, who has virtually no playoff success to his name in the NHL, is going to help a team that just lost Alex Pietrangelo take the next step towards winning another cup. I just don't see it. And maybe I'm wrong. I mean, the Kings are still on the rise. The Flames are hopefully on the rise. The Oilers are still going to be strong, especially if they can find a goaltender. I don't see the Knights as somebody that's going to, like, Mark Stone's back isn't getting any younger. Like, you know what I mean? There's just too many reasons to think like this is not. I don't see this being a legitimate cup contender next year necessarily.
I do.
And there's good reasons too, as well.
I think they will be. I don't know if they have the. Is stamina the right word? I mean, is to make it to the final and win. But I do think that this team's on the rise. And you just mentioned, okay, like I would say Calgary's. I would say, would you not agree with me that Edmonton would be considered a team on the decline now after their lost assets now in this over the last 2 weeks?
And the fact they don't have the cap space to really address the things that might put them over the top, which again is a goaltender, probably another steady defenseman, a strong two-way center for their third line. Like I don't know. I have a hard time seeing them getting beyond the point. I mean, they went to the cup final 2 years in a row. Good for them. But I don't see them being the threat that they once were.
Is Anaheim and Utah a team on the rise? I guess you'd say that, right? Their fan bases would say that. Calgary's fan base says we're on the rise. I don't know. I don't know. I sit and I go back and forth every day. Right now, if I asked you, is Calgary a better team now than they were at the end of the season? What do you think?
Ooh, that's a good question. Honestly, no. They're the same.
They're the same team right
now.
If we lose Andersson, which we obviously, I think who knows? This is probably going to drag out forever to drive me insane. But I don't know. I really don't know how to answer that question.
Well, and if Perek is NHL ready, maybe they are way better, right?
Maybe, but it's not just Perek. We don't, who knows what happens up front too, right? If
something's got to give. There's too many. Conroy's comment earlier, I don't agree with it at all. Like, if you want a job, take a job. There's no jobs to be had. There's no jobs at forward to be had right now. That's a simple fact, unless they move out a body or two. So anyway, speaking of defense, though, we don't want to miss this piece of news because it's quite significant. So I'm going to preface this in kind of a funny way. My ex's stepfather's cousin just got hired by the Flames, Brent Seabrook.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did see
that. You like that? Yeah.
I didn't know where you were going with the.
Yeah, right. So Brent Seabrook did nothing but win his 15-year NHL career. His assignment is essentially the same as Michael Stone's, which is to work with the club's defensive prospects, the Wranglers, the NHL. I didn't see this one coming at all, and it's funny. I was talking with Brent's cousin Jim a week ago. 10 days ago, something like, I don't know when it was, but like pretty damn recently. And then the Flames go out and hire this guy. So clearly they want to add winners to the organization in, roles that help their players develop into hopefully winners.
Yeah. Did you see that people in Dallas need to watch out for stick throwing incidents as Glenn Gulutzson was hired as their head coach today?
Okay. So here's, man. It's funny. We're over 40 minutes. I'm thinking, we're going to start winding down here shortly, but then you're going to get me going again. Glenn Gulutzson, when he threw that stick in that practice, reminded me of a manager I used to work with who thought his little temper tantrums would produce results, or thought that people would listen. And I'm not saying Glenn Gulutzson isn't a good hockey mind, because from what I understand, he is. But when you get angry and nobody takes you seriously, and it's like, he's having a hissy fit, it's the worst look. And it's not a look that suits him. So when guys like Daryl Sutter, for example, would get ugly, I'm sure it was kind of intimidating for the guys. The guy worked out a bit. He had some biceps on him, had a deep voice, farmer, That approach never suited Glenn Gulutzson. So hopefully we don't see any stick throwing, because his best chance of success with the Dallas Stars is to communicate effectively and hold players accountable by means of, having conversations one-on-one, maybe. Not throwing a stick into the stands and thinking anybody thinks you're anything other than a raging lunatic.
Yeah.
So now that I've had my rant about Glenn Gulutzson, go ahead.
I was a little surprised by that one, actually. I was.
Well, I'm a little bit surprised by it too, because in my opinion, based on where the Stars are at in their cycle, this is a team that should be contending. And my thought would be they're going to go out and get a Ken Hitchcock, Joel Quenneville type, like a veteran, a Daryl Sutter type, a veteran coach to get them over the finish line. And Gullison's coached for a long time. I think most recently was an assistant with the Oilers.
Yep.
But I didn't have him on bingo card to get a head coaching job with a team like the Stars. I could have saw him
with a Kraken.
I was just going to say Seattle, maybe even Anaheim, because and part of the reason is he very clearly struggled to coach a fairly veteran-laden group in Calgary.
Yeah. He had a pretty,
and obviously, people in Dallas have never heard of the Brouwer play, because if they had, they would never have hired Glenn Gulletson to be their head coach. And you can blame the power play coach, but if a head coach lets a member of his staff trot that guy out on your power play to be a net fun presence, you're doing something wrong.
That's right.
And that is all the time I have for Glenn Gulletson.
That's about all the time we have for the show. I do want to touch on one more thing, and then we'll talk about this, and then we'll run through if there's anything that's happened recently, and then we'll let people get on with their holiday day here in Canada. Introducing the class of 25 for the Hall of Fame. I just want to get your take quickly on the players. We don't need to talk about anything other than the NHL players. Let's put it that way. Chara, were you yay or nay?
I'm yay, but I mean, it's the guy's 6'9". Like, he can do things nobody else could possibly do. It's like Andre the Giant of hockey. It's like, yeah, of course he's going to go in the Hall of Fame, but I mean, Anyway, yay, good for him. Great player.
Is Duncan? Is he in Hall of Famer? I mean, is he a Hall of Famer?
Oh, Brad, I don't know. He was a damn good defenseman, but we've had this conversation before. So many have about it's like the Hall of really good. It's not really the Hall of Fame. And then remember when Keith went to the Oilers?
Yeah, I do.
That's right up there with like Burud and the Blues. Oh, there's some other crazy ones there, but I can't think of them right now. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, he's a great player. Is he Hall of Fame worthy? I'd have to go over his stats again and really ponder that. But
I don't know. Joe Thornton, I can buy that one, right? You're buying that one.
Yeah, I'm reminiscing about the Joe Thornton to San Jose trade down, how awful that was for the Bruins. But yeah, I can get behind that.
And finally, Alexander McGillney.
Shout out to Sabres Bunny on X, the biggest McGillney fan ever, and I think she's finally sleeping after years of agonizing over this.
Now, you know what we need now, and I know we need Theo Fleury in there. He has numbers. They're there. They're Hall of Fame numbers. They're there.
Well, there's a lot of guys in the Hall of Fame that aren't a point per game player, right?
They're there.
So
this guy was so integral. Won gold medal for Canada. I mean, topic for another day. But that's so there.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. As far as the hockey player goes, there's never been another one quite like him. Carlo Koliakovo tweeted about Cody Cece's 4-year deal in LA. Hands down the worst contract signed today.
Looking at the board here on recent signings, nothing over the top. Vitek Vanacek goes to Utah.
Oh, I would have liked him as a backup, actually. I forgot about him.
1 year, 1.5. That's a good one, actually.
So here's a question. I meant to ask you this earlier and I forgot, but it just popped up here again. How the hell did Andrei Kuzmenko get $4.3 million? How good was he when he went to LA? Or rather, how did I not notice how good he was when he went to LA? Because that's absurd money.
He was good there.
I knew he was good, but he was that good? Like, what the hell?
No, he wasn't that good, but he was good. But like, I really wish I could get a beat on what he really is, because I think he's so offensively dynamic, but you just got to put it in every day if you're a professional athlete, though, right?
He had 17 points in 22 games, and 5 points in 7 games in Philly, and actually somehow got up to 15 points in 37 games for the Flames traded him, which was pretty good for a guy who had a really abysmal start of the season. But how he parlayed that into a $4.3 million contract at his age, I mean, golf
good for him.
Bravo. I mean, the best laugh in hockey and the worst English in hockey. Good for him. He's right.
How do you say it? Nick Cizik?
Cizik.
That is official now. 1 year.
He had a lot of experience in the San Jose organization too. So again, that's a good depth signing.
It's not super exciting for the Flames as far as the day goes, but maybe that is a huge blessing, because this team, and I think this whole fan base would agree, shouldn't and didn't go big fish hunting today, or big game hunting, or what do you want to call it?
Well, what the hell would we have done, right? What would have made sense from a big game hunting? And if it's a trade for a guy like Bowen Byrum, well, depending on what goes back to the way, that might make sense. But in terms of a signing,
Yeah.
like, we're not going to sign Nick Ehlers.
With the writing on the wall with Andersson, I don't know that getting a Byrum wouldn't be great with his age. And like, I'm actually really liking that rumor, but I just want to see how it all plays out, right?
Well, that's the thing. We're kind of in a holding pattern until the Andersson chip falls. There's not, other than getting a backup goaltender signed and maybe like a Joe Veleno, like an extra center, maybe that could play Wranglers or Flames. And again, there's so many forwards that could be a tough fit. We're also assuming, or I'm assuming in saying that Justin Kirkland's going to make the team full time as a center, because after the knee injury he had, there's no guarantee of that. But until the Andersson chip falls,
doesn't Sam Morton fills that spot?
I keep forgetting what Sam Morton.
I don't know. I have that guy penciled in for that him and Kirkland are battling for that fourth line center spot. And I don't care which one gets it.
Yeah.
I don't know that Sam.
I hope that's the case. It's just the problem is too, like those end of season 1 or 2 games, the last game against LA, there's such a throwaway.
Oh yeah, like I'm not judging anything there, but like, a lot of people are saying that Suniev is ready to go. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. Let's talk about that. Developmental camp starts this week, the 2nd through the 6th, I believe. That's when we can start to see how some of these guys come into play, and then top prospects later on in the summer. That's where we'll really start to learn, who, that's kind of where we started to see, like, and then in camp open that Hanzik, was kind of making that step or trying to make that step. And I'm not giving up on Hanzik yet. I'm interested to see how he progresses this year and at camp. And I don't know. I still think that we finally have some prospects that we can be excited for, right?
100%. And I think it's also incumbent upon the team to make sure they don't, as they have in the past, screw up those players' development. Hanzik, I think it was pretty clear to most of us, wasn't ready physically for the NHL last year.
Yep, I would agree.
Depending on the work he's put in the summer, maybe he will be ready this time around. But it's funny so many names in the last 3 minutes you mentioned that it's like I didn't forget about them. Like I mentioned Sam Morton, but Suniev, Hanzik, Morton, they're all right there potentially fighting for a spot, which again I don't think is overly realistic until we move 1 or 2 bodies out. But it's gonna be interesting to see. It'll be really interesting to see. And also I'm curious to see from a Flames, alumni perspective, what happens to TJ Brody? Does he get a tryout in camp? Like he was a big piece of the team for a lot of years. Yeah, I wonder where. I was surprised the Blackhawks bought him out.
Not Calgary.
No, I wouldn't say so.
I can't.
I got really drunk with his mother-in-law in Columbus once. I just remember that. Yeah.
Oh no, we're gonna go off the rails right now, aren't we?
Well, I went off the rails that night for sure, but anyway.
It would have, yeah. Oh boy. All right.
I think that means we've officially covered everything for this.
We've covered everything. I want to thank everybody that hopped on today to join us on this live episode of Flames Unfiltered. You can catch a podcast every Tuesday. You know what? We do it. We record Monday nights, drop Tuesdays all season, even in the off season. Next week, we're going to have a special episode talking about Flames tough guys. We're here. We're here through the off season, and we're here all year. You can check us out on all the socials. You can check out Kyle and I on all the socials too. Make sure you give us a follow. We appreciate everybody listening. We appreciate
great engagement today too. Watching the ticker there for how many viewers we have. This has been fantastic. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys, and trusting us with your Flames news. And if we get something official on the goaltending front tonight in the morning, whatever, like we'll be tweeting, posting shorts, whatever we're gonna do to get the news to you.
That's right. Thank you all. Enjoy your summer, as we do get a little bit of a break now, right, Kyle? We get a little bit of a break, but enjoy the nice weather, enjoy the holidays, and everybody stay safe, and we'll see what happens in the coming weeks with the Flames roster.
Looking forward to it. Take care, guys.
Thanks for listening to Flames Unfiltered with Brad Burud and Kyle Lewis, your source for unfiltered Calgary Flames hockey talk. Keep it locked on flamesunfiltered.ca. Subscribe where you get all your podcasts to never miss an episode. Flames hockey talk every week, presented by Inside Edge Hockey Media Group.